Hello and welcome. So today we will be talking about the two kidnap attempts of King Edward VIII. Now, neither of these actually happened while he was king because he wasn't actually king long enough for these to happen. So one of them happened when he was Prince of Wales and the other one happened when he was the Duke of Windsor after his abdication. So the first kidnap attempt happened in July 1922 by IRA volunteers. The kidnapped attempt was thought up by John Joseph Carr. He planned to kidnap Edward while he was at the Cowes Regatta and use Edward as a bargaining chip to commute the sentences of two other IRA volunteers, Reginald Dune and Joseph O'Sullivan. These two men had been convicted of the murder of the Chief to the Imperial Staff, General Sir Henry Wilson, in June 1922. Carr said that the idea was to kidnap a member of the royal family so that the kidnapping would be kept from the press so that negotiations could be carried out with the British government in the hopes of commuting the two men's death sentences. So John Joseph Carr was actually born in London, but he got his nationalist tendencies from his father, who was Irish. Carr joined the IRA volunteers in 1919 and he and his brother Dennis used to successfully smuggle guns into Ireland from Britain. So in 1922, Carr had been imprisoned as an anti-treaty activist, and in return for his freedom he offered to go to London and kidnap the prince. When Carr arrived in London, he borrowed £100 from his mother to buy a car, and then he roped in the help of a taxi driver called Jerry Layden. After this, Carr and another IRA volunteer called Dennis Carr went to Cowes on the Isle of Wight, where Edward was staying with a wealthy banking family, the Baring family. But while they were there, Kelleher's accent was picked up by a local policeman and commented on. So, fearing that their plan to kidnap the prince was in jeopardy, they decided to forget about this plan and instead try to kidnap the Anglo-Irish peer, the Earl of Arran. But this attempt was also abandoned, and in the end Carr emigrated to the United States. So the second kidnap attempt of Edward happened in June 1940 during the Second World War. The attempt was called Operation Willy and it was made by the SS, the Nazis' Security and Surveillance Agency. The idea was to work with Adolf Hitler to either help get a peace settlement with Britain or to be put back on the throne and become Hitler's puppet king when Hitler conquered Britain. So after the fall of France to Germany in June 1940, the now Duke and Duchess of Windsor decided to head for neutral Spain via Portugal. The German ambassador to Madrid, Eberhard von Stroner, telegraphed the Nazi foreign minister, Joachim von Ribbentrop, saying that the Spanish foreign minister, Juan Biberg y Antoniza, was asking how to deal with Edward and his wife and whether they should be detained. So Ribbentrop said that Edward and Wallace should be detained for 2 weeks. Then on the 2nd of July, Juan wired Ribbentrop saying that he had met with Edward and that they spoke about how Edward was not happy with his family because of the way that they were treating his wife, and also of how Edward had criticised the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. So the British government heard what Edward was saying about them, so they sent him a telegram saying that he was now the governor of the Bahamas and he had to leave straight away to go there. But Edward decided to stay a bit longer where he was in Portugal. So Ribbentrop cabled the German embassy in Spain and told them to try and stop Edward from going to the Bahamas, and he even suggested that the British Secret Service meant to do away with Edward once he got to the Bahamas. A plan was hatched for Edward's friend Miguel Primo de Rivera to invite Edward on a hunting trip in Spain, and there he would tell Edward all about the British Secret Service plot against him, and he would also tell him that if Edward decided to stay in Spain, then he would be given an allowance befitting his station. So Rivera visited Edward on the 16th of July and told Edward all of this, but Edward had some reservations about it, and then Rivera visited Edward again on the 22nd of July, but Edward still had his reservations. So around the time of this second visit, the Nazis were drawing up plans to kidnap the Duke and Duchess, and Hitler personally appointed Walter Schellenberg to handle this. The final plan in the end was to get the Duke and Duchess over the border into Spain and keep them there to protect them from the plotters against their lives, specifically the British intelligence service. So Schellenberg carried out some scare tactics on Edward, pinning the blame onto the British. He had some stones thrown against the windows of the villa that they were staying in, and then made a rumour go around all the servants that the British was responsible for this. He then had a bunch of flowers delivered to Duchess Wallis with a note warning about the British Secret Service. And then he did have another scare tactic which involved firing shots at the windows of their villa, but this was abandoned due to fears of the psychological effect that it would have on Wallis. So on the 30th of July, Schellenberg told Hitler that Edward's old friend Sir Walter Mockington had arrived to help speed up Edward and Wallis's departure for the Bahamas, and that they would be leaving on the 1st of August. So when Hitler heard this, he told Schellenberg to just kidnap the Duke and Duchess outright. But this did not happen. There was efforts made to stop Edward and Wallis from leaving. The car that was taking their luggage to the port was sabotaged, so their luggage arrived late. And also the Germans put out a bomb threat on the ship that was going to take them to the Bahamas, so their departure was delayed while the ship was searched. But in the end, Edward and Wallis's ship left for the Bahamas that evening, and all plans of the kidnap attempt were abandoned. So that was the 2 kidnapped attempts on Edward VIII. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.